And he brought me many realizations.
What is up, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Adriana Robertson, and my goal on YouTube is to ultimately encourage you through your tough times in life. And how I'm going to be doing that is I'm going to share my own personal tips and tricks and also my life stories to help you live your best regardless of your mess. So this week I'm still going to be targeting the subject of grief, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go to my last YouTube video and watch that, as I told my story on how I lost my dad and how I struggled through the grieving process. And yeah, so if you want to go watch that, get a little context and backstory, then head that way. And if you have watched it, then stay right here. I'm going to be talking this week about the 5 stages of grief and the stages that I believe that I went through way back when. Talking like I am super old or something. Anyways, if you have no idea what the stages and the cycle of grief are, I'm going to be talking about, there's multiple doctors and psychiatrists out there who have their own personal goes at it, right? That they have their specific 5 stages, or there's 7 stages, or there's 10 stages, or you get the point, right? But I'm specifically going to be talking about the Kubler-Ross grief cycle, which I probably totally butchered that because it's definitely not an American name. I'm going to pop in a picture of it right here, so you see kind of how it looks. It looks like a roller coaster, and that's what you go through when you grieve. Let's get this straight first. All of us grieve. We just have small griefs, and we also have large griefs. The small griefs are things that we grieve every day, or mostly every day and throughout the week and everything like that, whether we are breaking up with boyfriend, girlfriend, whether we lose a friend that has been our friend for a long time, or even for a short period of time, and not lose them to death, but just lose them because y'all's paths have not coincided, or you're just going separate ways, right? Or you have moved to a new state, or there's also divorce. That's another thing, and that's some stuff that I have never experienced, so I can't talk on it, but I do know that I have experienced small griefs in my life that I can't talk about. But my ultimate large grief is losing my dad when I was 13. So we're now going to get into the 5 stages. The first stage starts with denial and shock. So this phase is kind of like the avoidance and the fear and the confusion. Like, wow, like, why did this just happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? Why did it have to be my loved one? Why did I have to lose my job? Like those kind of things, right? That's stage number 1. Stage number 2 is anger. So frustration, like, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer that you're angry at the fact that you are going through this and that life just so happened to pick you. I just believe that being angry is a no-brainer when it comes to grieving. The third stage is depression. And it's not the mental illness depression. It is the depression of grief, or the depression of the fact that that the life that you once knew is no longer that. So it's kind of like you possibly separating from your friends, not wanting to talk to anybody, not wanting to get out the house, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, that's the depression stage. And then you go into number 4, which is the bargaining stage, and that's kind of just talking about it, wanting to vent to somebody about your situation and kind of get some dialogue between 2 people and actually get it out. I believe that that's my main stage that I'm constantly going through because, well, 1, I'm a talker, and then 2, that was the first stage that I experienced, but we'll get into that in a second. And then the final stage, which is acceptance. Accepting grief ultimately is when you get to the point of, okay, like, it's time to find a new meaning of life and to just kind of get past the I can't do this to I can do this and I'm okay and I'm better versus I'm not okay. So those are the 5 stages, and I'm gonna repeat them: denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. That's really hard to remember. Now I'm gonna talk about what I think that I ultimately went through. And when you think about grief, you need to just take a second. I'm gonna like kind of paint a picture and just imagine in your head. So if you ever worked with kids or you have a child, you know that if you hand a child a piece of paper, whether it is a drawing of something or a printed off bear, that you hand them that paper and you hand them a crayon and you say, color. They're not gonna color in between the lines. They're just gonna scribble everywhere, right? That's what grief is. You're welcome. Now you know. My grief stages just kind of whoop, 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 went everywhere. And let me tell you one thing is definitely for sure, nobody's grief experience is going to be like yours, because I have, like, my mom's grief experience wasn't like mine, my brothers, my cousins, my old childhood best friend, my boyfriends, like all of our grieving experiences, definitely different. So nobody can tell you how your grief experience is going to be. You can only ultimately take the time to really understand your grief. With that being said, I'm going to look at my notepad because I wrote down the cycle that I think that I went through and the pattern that I went through it in. So I started out in the dialogue stage because I'm a talker. I like to talk to people. Like I was wanting to build that relationship with another person and then for them to be there for me. I spoke about my grief and rather than not talking about it. So that was, I believe that was my first stage. Then my second stage was anger. So my mom, about a year and a half later, had gotten into another relationship with a man, and I was so mad. I was like, why are you with another person? This is not my dad. Like, I was just angry with the whole entire situation. And then I ultimately went into denial. So like the confusion stage, like I was just confused on why it had to happen to me. And I wanted other people to understand like what I was going through. Oh, I was just all over the place. Oh. And so then I went into depression because I depended on other people to make me happy and to bring me joy while I was grieving, and that just is not a good thing. Do not do that. Nobody else can make you happy except yourself. So I had to find peace within myself, which still doing, still working on every single day. That was years ago. I was just not in a good place. Then I went into shock. Man, I was just baffled at the fact that I had to live every day like without my dad, and I had to grow up and grow old and become an adult without my father. And now I look back and I laugh because yes, I definitely 110% miss my dad, but at the same time, I would not be the person that I am today without losing my dad. So after all of that, after my rebellion, my anger, my frustration, my confusion, I finally, when I hit about this process when I'm from like 13 to like a solid 19 years old, I then got to the point where I started to accept the fact that I could get through life and have my own life without my dad present. Took a very long time. I actually probably can say that I really didn't start seeing a change or growth in myself until my junior year of college, when I went to East Texas Baptist University. I was surrounded by like-minded people who really wanted to worship God and build my faith. And so, I don't know, like I really didn't start to grow or see growth within myself until I hit that like 20 years old mark. Let me tell you, baby, in the past 3 years, like I'm 23, I have gone through so much and like have grieved a lot. I am probably now in one of the best places I've ever been mentally, physically, and emotionally than I was. So it took about like 8 years for me to like get my stuff together. Woo! If this is all fresh for you, just know that you're going to come out on the other side and be a fantastic individual. I know it's really hard right now to see that. Know that you are in my prayers and that I am here to listen to your story. And now I'm at the point where where grief kind of hits me in waves. So once you get past that acceptance point, you're going to then go into your life and like fully head on in to be finding a new purpose, finding your purpose. With your experience, you're going to then get to a point where grief comes in waves. So the waves can be, you just wake up and you have a bad day, the season changes, a certain smell, a certain song, so those waves hit you, either come up, engulf you, or it's kind of just like a small, subtle thing. So I think that our world just doesn't talk about grief enough, and I know that if I would have been prepared for it, or if my parents would have talked about it more, or if I would have learned about it in school, that I just would have been a lot better and been prepared to face my grief. This is for all the little girls out there, the little girls and the women that are struggling with their grieving process and getting through what they just went through. Yeah, I love you, and if you know the stages that you are going through or that you've been through, leave them down below. I want to hear it. I enjoy talking to other people about their grief because I get it. So I post videos. I have been posting videos every Saturday. Sadly, I'm gonna have to change that schedule because I do work a full-time job, and just getting something up during the week is challenging for me. So I will let you guys know. If you've been here from the beginning, I love you. And if you are here now, I love you even more. And I cannot wait to hear from you guys. So with that being said, I pray your week is wonderful and that you stay strong, live boldly, and live your best regardless of your mess. Till next time, guys.